Dean Evans joins me now from Winning Edge Investments to preview a Group 1 weekend of racing, headlined in Melbourne by, of course, the Turnbull Stakes. Good morning to you, Dean.
Morning, Matt. How are you going?
I'm well, thank you. How excited are you to get stuck into two terrific programs in Melbourne and Sydney, which includes 4 Group 1s?
Yeah, no, this is where it really starts to get exciting. The Turnbull's always that classic sort of fork in the road race between whether horses go to a Cox Plate or to the Caulfield and Melbourne Cups, and then Sydney you got 3 historic Group 1s, the Epsom, the Metrop, and the Flight Stakes. So it's just brilliant racing all around. A lot of the top liners are running, and yeah, it's an exciting day.
Yeah, it's known as Moving Day, and obviously we get to see the first 3 2-year-old races for the season this weekend, and I know that's right up your alley. So looking forward to getting your thoughts on that in just a moment. But this Group 1 Turnbull tomorrow is fascinating because it will shape a lot of markets heading towards the Caulfield and Melbourne Cups. And there's a possibility even that we might be on a good 3 by that stage of the day with the Melbourne weather really fining up. So we're expecting a good track at Flemington tomorrow. Gold Trip is the favourite with the market. Currently it's at $3.50 from barrier number 10, Jamie Carr in the saddle. Duas, one of the long-time favourites for these cups, is at $5 for Ed Cummings. And then you're looking at around $11 for Profondo, who really needs to stand up this weekend.
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting sort of race. You've got some of the class runners who are a bit out of form, and then you've got quite a number of up-and-comers that are there to strike as well. I think you look at horses like Due and Profondo, who are right heavily in the market. Due put up lame last start, so you've really got to take her on trust a bit. She's failed the last 3 starts. Profondo, has passed 2 campaigns, but hampered by wet tracks. So he hasn't really had a good run for a while. And then you got Gold Trip, who's this highly touted import with exceptional Group 1 form in France. And he was a good third last start. He gets a 7 kg weight pull in the winner here for a 1-length defeat. So you see why he's in the market. But he's another that, he's third up off a long break. And he's sort of just got to deliver in Australia. And you're taking pretty short sort of prices there at 9 to 2 about him doing that. When that former naturalism is still sort of Smoke and Romans is more a 2,400 metre horse, and then Uncle Bryn, which is hardly Group 1 form. So it's a very interesting race. The one I thought, rather merit is a horse called Surefire. He's been running around on wet tracks as well, but has been running very nicely. His first up run over 1,400, which was the driest track he struck. Was pretty explosive for a stayer. Ran the quickest last 800 and 1,000 metres of the day. Where it rounded that day, and he's a stayer. His last couple of runs, he's been stuck on sort of bog tracks. He was on a hot speed in the Kingston Town and was only beaten 2 lengths. And he was second at Group 3 level in his first prep. And these Waller stayers, they always improve, particularly imports over time. And Chris Waller's record in this race, he's won 5 of the last 11 and run second another 4 times. And all those seconds were close. So his run has always run very well here. And I can't dive into horses like Due or Profondo, particularly coming off a lame run. And I just think I need to see Gold Trip actually do it rather than back a horse who's being priced on the boom.
All right, so Surefire from barrier 11 with Blake Shin in the saddle, currently $11. And if you're looking ahead to the Melbourne Cup, you can get $34 about Surefire. And if he wins tomorrow at Flemington, you'd expect that price to shorten up significantly, Dean.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's a genuine Melbourne Cup horse. So he was actually bought for a Melbourne Cup last year, and they gave him a bit of time. But I think he's really sort of coming of age now, and he's a 5-year-old, and I think there's going to be the prep where we see the best of him. And I just think getting back on the dry track is the key with him, and that's what they've found here. And what's there's some handy horses in this Group 1, but I just think there's a few that are in mixed form, and it's going to be interesting to see how they all lay up now that we've finally got a good track for them.
It's always exciting to see these 2-year-olds step out for the first time in the season, and the first race on the program at Flemington tomorrow is the Maribyrnong Trial. I heard Mick Sharkey on Racing Pulse earlier this morning. He describes these 2-year-old races as a raffle. Now, Dean, I know they're right up your alley, though, because you take a keen interest in these 2-year-olds at their first starts. can we make some money tomorrow? Because the Tab has a terrific promo, which is races 1 and 2 in Melbourne and Sydney. $50 you can have on any runner, and if it loses, doesn't matter where it runs, you get your money back. So it's a free hit. Where do we start in the first at Flemington tomorrow?
Yeah, look, historically, in these early Flemington races, you want those horses who have had the benefit of experience of jump outs down the straight. And the two that impressed me the most are Beluga Express and Aditi. Beluga Express has run close seconds in 2 Flemington jump outs this month, running 46.99 and 47.98. He's a type that sort of takes a little while to find his feet, but then hits the line really strongly. That's perfect for him that he's drawn barrier 9, so he'll just be able to hook in, behind a few horses and then hook out and just swoop over the top of them. The Hayes stable does have a good record in this race. They have won it a couple of times in recent years, and the way that he closes is really impressive. The other factor in this race is quite often the leader wins, and I think the horse who may have the most speed to lead this race is Aditi from the Gay Waterhouse stable. She won the 16 September jump out in 46.99, and then those times were much quicker than the times that were run by the likes of Mount Olympus and Charmstone. They were about 6 lengths slower in their jump out. So she's quite speedy as well. So I've got Beluga Express on top at around $5, and I think Aditi is the other one at $4.60, and I think the winner's going to come from one of those two.
All right, that's the Maribyrnong trial at Flemington. In Sydney, we have 2 two-year-old races. The first of those is race number 1 on the program. It's the Breeders' Plate. Now, John O'Shea's horse Physical Graffiti is the $3.50 favourite. Empire of Japan for the Snowdens is at $4.20. The horse that interests me is Flying Trapeze, Dean, because Gary Portelli said this is his best chance all weekend, and it's worth noting that he does have Fireburn going around as a short price favourite in the Flight Stakes.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think when you compare the times, the Empire of Japan and Flying Trapeze trial where they went neck and neck was 7 lengths below par, while the Physical Graffiti trial was pretty much bang on par. So Physical Graffiti actually ran 7 lengths quicker than Flying Trapeze and Empire of Japan. The one concern I sort of have with Physical Graffiti is it's got a lone bit on, sort of got a tongue tie on, which I'm always concerned with horses that have a tongue tie on, is sometimes it can mean a breeding issue or some sort of other concern. So I've got a bit of a query around Physical Graffiti. I'm quite keen actually on Empire of Japan, and the reason is that the closing sectionals that ran in that trial, and it sort of were just nosed out by Flying Trapeze. It ran the 7th quickest last 400 and the 2nd quickest last 200 metres of that trial. And despite the time that the overall trial was slow, Sejardin last year was very similar. It ran one of the slowest trials, but it ran one of the quickest closing sectionals. One of the tricks in these 2-year-old races sometimes is, well, everyone focuses on the overall time. Quite often the ones that have those quicker closing sectionals over the 850 trial are the ones that perform really well when they get to the 1,000 metres of the race. So I'm quite keen on Empire of Japan. James McDonald rode him in that trial and sticks with him here, and he had the best closing sectionals. I'm risking Physical Graffiti just because I'm a little concerned with that tongue tie, even though on times it'll be hard to beat. And the other one on times that's actually quite a fair bit ahead of the rest of them was Snatch Riley, who's around $10. It was minus 1.7 on par times in the trial where it ran second. And it's quite a few lengths quicker than what most of the rest of them ran on the day. So when comparing the confirmed times, I've got Empire of Japan on top from Snatch Riley and Physical Graffiti.
All right, that's some good insight there into race number 1 at Randwick. The following race is the Jim Crack. It's for the fillies, and Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott, they have 3 out of the top 4 horses in the market here, which is no surprise because they generally saddle them up and they are in such great order for their first outings. Perfect Proposal is the one that tops the market at $3. Of the girls, Dean, is there one that you like?
Yeah, look, Gay does have a stronghold on this race. Like you say, she's brilliant with the 2-year-olds, and she's got these ones up and running early. I do agree with the market here. Perfect Proposal. She won her round-up trial by 2.2 lengths, running plus 1.1. That was the quickest overall time and the quickest last 600 metres of all of the trialers, 2-year-old trialers in the day, including the colts. So, she's going to be very hard to beat. And then Gay's also got Sicilian there, led all the way under little pressure with James McDonald riding, and he sticks aboard by a length and a half. And she ran about 1.7 lengths lower than Perfect Proposal, but she wasn't really pushed at all. And again, her times overall were very quick compared to the rest of the field. Ran the seventh quickest last 600 metres of all the 2-year-olds on the day, including the colts. So I do have Gay Waterhouse with a bit of a stronghold in this race, and I think Perfect Proposal the one to beat, and Sicilian's the danger.
All right, that's Perfect Proposal, this filly by Russian Revolution at the top of the market in the Gym Crack. Dean, outside of those races that we've mentioned, is there one horse in particular that you're keen to back this weekend?
I think the other horse that is probably my best bet is Numerian in the Hill Stakes. This is a horse who came over from overseas and had some exceptional form around Cox Plate, a Cox Plate winner and a Cox Plate runner-up that he beat and was narrowly nosed out when he was overseas. It was just absolute grade A form on wet tracks. He was a really good closing second, first up the Knight's Order. He won a Group 2 last prep in Brisbane, beating Maximal, among others. And I just think he's a top runner. I actually think he's a good sneaky for the Caulfield Cup, Numerian. He's here in $1 million race, and I do think he can beat both Montefilia and Cascadian.
Dean, it's a terrific weekend's racing. 4 Group 1s to get our teeth stuck into. For those out there that want to get involved at Winning Edge Investments, what do they need to do?
Yeah, just hop on to winningedgeinvestments.com, choose any of the products that are there, and they'll get a 15% discount if they use the promo code that we've got there provided.
Love your work, mate. We'll catch up again next week, and good luck over this weekend.
Cheers, mate.